Based upon that Frank-Starling law, as long as things are pretty healthy, the body is going to match it. The heart, the lungs, everything are going to increase and match the activity or the demand for the tissues. Now, what can go wrong? Coronary artery disease. Do you remember the coronary circulation? This was strictly to the heart muscle, okay? Usually the result of atherosclerosis, the buildup of fat deposits in the arteries. Atherosclerosis, not arteria. Athero, okay? There's a difference, all right? Diets high in fats can cause this, okay? However, there can also be genetic problems with people's buildup of fat in the blood. No matter how healthy their diet might be, how much medication they might be on, they may have no control over the fat. People who have that problem, when they have to take blood and have it tested, it actually comes out milky. That's how much fat is floating around in their blood. There are people with genetic disorders that this happens to. Under normal conditions, okay, and if you're somewhat trying to eat a healthy diet, it can still build up, just might take longer, okay? But it's a buildup of those fat deposits. Basically, the inner lining of the arteries gets affected. I'm sure you've seen the commercials where it shows the little buildup and the blood kind of stopping the flow and everything. It can be due to high blood pressure. It could be due to genetic factors. It could be due to certain diseases that we might have. Basically, when this happens, white blood cells, the monocytes, because the inner lining of that vessel has been damaged, the natural order of the body is to come in and try to fix it. So the white cells are going to come in, they're going to try to fix it, but that means other parts that are going to be present, wow, kind of get built up. They kind of stack up. Okay, so if we've got that vessel, because remember that vessel is going to be hollow, okay? But if you get something that begins to branch off that shouldn't be there, things are going to get stuck on it. One of the things that can do that are the platelets. You begin to get a buildup, blood flow gets restricted through that vessel. Ugh, that's going to be some bad stuff showing up. Begin to get total obstruction in that area, and it leads to a lot of stuff that's not fun. So in this coronary circulation, you can end up getting something like angina. I've heard, people talk about, ooh, my angina's acting up, okay? Yes, it's not fun. Basically, the arteries around the heart are getting built up and hardened. and it's painful. They actually think they're having a heart attack, but it's really just a decrease in the blood flow. Eventually, heart attack's probably going to happen. We may find that in this coronary circulation, because stuff's going wrong, immune cells of the body might try to fight it. Some of those immune cells might cause inflammation in those arteries. Once again, painful, all right? Also, they could rupture, and you end up with a traveling clot, or the fat that built up in that artery could break loose. They have the ability to do that a little bit, but you don't want them doing that under chronic conditions. You want them to only do it to the beat of the heart. Spasms can actually occur in these arteries around the heart. Nitric oxide, what do you think of when you hear that? What kind of gas? Laughing gas, not the same thing. That's nitrous. Okay? Nitric is something that's in our bodies, okay? But it's important because of the fact that it helps with the dilation of the vessels. If we don't have enough of it, those arteries want it, and they let us know by going through spasms. Now, in the body's wanting to correct the problems to the arteries, what they'll do is they can end up creating arteriosclerosis, scarring in the arteries. And this means that's not going to allow this to happen. So there's a difference between the athero and the arterio. Does that make sense? Okay. When we have coronary artery disease, it's not good. Usually, you go to the doctors, they do the blood work, and they'll tell you your good cholesterol, your bad cholesterol, HDL, LDL, and they'll have a percentage, the ratio that shows up between the two. So, a major risk factor is this LDL, low density lipoprotein, and HDL, a high density lipoprotein. Now look at what an LDL is. Protein coated droplet of fat, cholesterol. A protein coated drop of fat. That should be something that as it travels in the blood, it should be able to make its way to a cell, and a cell should be able to take it in and use it, not have it stay in the bloodstream, which is what happens. Because under normal conditions, the body should take, the cell should take it in and use it for the most part to help build plasma membranes. But it stays in the blood, and that's not good. So if you have a high amount of these in the blood, your doctor's trying to tell you that there's too much of it available, and therefore it has the ability to stick to those arterial walls. And if they tell you that ratio, where the high density should be able to come in and help that low density get pushed to the cell, but high is low in your blood work, that ratio is not good. It's not enough to offset the LDLs sticking to the arteries. Does that make sense? If you live long enough, you're going to have something with coronary artery disease. It's going to happen. Embrace it. Okay? Now, we could also have genetics play a part. Like I was mentioning, people who are genetically prone to the high cholesterol counts. Guys, sorry, for some reason, y'all are affected more than women. It's science, okay? Not me. We do know the risk factors. Weight is a major one. Smoking, another major one. Lack of exercise. Anxious personality. Stress. Aggression. Road rage, man. Diet. Treatments, depending upon at what point it's diagnosed. Might get lucky enough, have some bypass surgery, feel great, no more problems. I'm always amazed that people who are told they need bypass surgery, because of the surgery itself that needs to be done. I mean, hey, I'm not a fan, okay? I know I would not want my chest cracked open, okay? I'm sorry, it don't sound like no fun. However, once the surgery's done and people recover, they feel better than they've probably felt in decades because of this the progression of the coronary artery disease. They take veins, usually from your leg, and graft it. It's really cool. It really is. Watch it on YouTube sometimes. The balloon or the laser angioplasty, where if, while they're doing the catheterization, if they thread through, usually they can go in and just open the little balloon and push it open, okay? Sometimes a stent will work. Basically, a little spring, looks like a spring-like type apparatus that they'll put into the artery and hopefully keep that artery open. Usually, those are temporary fixes until the bypass needs to be done, depending on at what point it's caught. But that officially ends chapter 19 for us. We'll start 20 on Thursday.